Now, I had the opportunity, and this was amazing, to visit with world-renowned photographer Ann Geddes on a photo shoot for a cause close to her heart. Take a look.
I was asked to do a series of portraits of survivors of meningococcal disease. So I was just really, really happy to get involved. And, you know, I consider myself an advocate for children, and this is just a natural progression. So I wanted this series to be 15 beautiful images of beautiful children. So you want to look at these images and think, what a beautiful little girl. Oh my goodness, what happened?
It was a really amazing opportunity for me to share my story, and it was a really good opportunity too to like tell girls my age and girls younger than me, you know, it's not always what's on the outside that matters, it's what you have on the inside that really counts. It makes you who you are. It's not as much your outward appearance. It's just a really great thing to be able to tell girls, like, you know, it's you have to be okay with who you are and you can't change that.
They have been extraordinary, these kids, and it's just so, it sounds twee to say inspirational and courageous and all of these words that we use all the time, but they're actually true. I've photographed a lot of kids, so these kids are really special.
It's just something that happened to me. It's part of me now, but it doesn't define me.
That was a beautiful shoot. So please welcome live in our studio, iconic photographer Ann Geddes. Thank you for joining us. Our Dr. Marjorie Dixon joining us as well. So we can talk a little bit more about this project, about meningococcal meningitis. But first, I want to talk about just the imagery that you use, the photography that you have become really world famous for, with the babies in all of these beautiful positions. I want to know, how did you first start getting into photographing babies?
Well, you know, I was 25 when I first picked up a camera, and you know, I always used to joke that I was the first photographer that I ever met, because when I grew up, it was in a small town in the north of Australia, and there were no photography courses or anything like that. But you know, I always loved to look at images of people. Do you remember Life magazine? Maybe you're too young, you know.
No,
but
absolutely.
I was just mesmerised by the photographs and the fascination with just a still image that's there for the rest of time.
Yes.
And I still am, you know.
Right.
It's the magic of photography. It just, I never tire of it, really.
But then putting them in little flowers and all of that, where did that come from?
That
It's
first
beautiful.
flower pot that I shot
Yes.
in the mid-90s was actually an accident. You know, this little baby, she came into the studio, she was wearing a little woolen hat. Every plant that I look at just dies immediately. So I had an empty flower pot, and I thought, well, she might look like one of those little cactuses that we used to put on our windowsills.
Right.
And then it just went on from there. You know, I didn't realise at the time, and nobody ever does at the start of their career, really.
Right,
No.
yeah. Okay, so now let's talk about your partnership with this program, meningococcal meningitis. How did you get involved in this? Why did you get involved with it?
Well, you know, I saw, as I said earlier on this tape, look, I consider myself an advocate for children, and when I was asked to do a project like this, you know, 15 images of survivors of meningococcal disease as opposed to victims, you know, I like to call them survivors, I was a little bit taken back, you know, because as you can see, look, I'm photographing little children who have had really serious damage to their bodies. But it's a great disease to actually raise awareness because it's so visual. You know, you can look at a little 5-year-old, or look at little Megan there, she's 11 years old. She's lost all of her fingers, bar one, and her legs. And so, you know, I want people to actually look at these images and go, firstly, what a beautiful child, and then, oh my goodness, what happened? What can I do? And so it's raising the level of awareness. This little guy, Elias, he's 7 years old. And you know, what I found through this series is, you know, generally with children you've got to be really quick and they haven't got very long attention spans, but these kids are amazing. They're really stoic, you know, they're used to putting up with things that most kids don't have to put up with, and being told they have to wait and having these medical procedures and everything. And every single one of them, you know, apart from the little 9-month-old who was there, you know, but every single one of them knew why they were there and had their own message to deliver, you know. And it's the 3 points, as we all know. I know you've had experience of meningococcal disease in your family.
Yeah,
you know?
my brother actually had meningitis when he was 13, and I remember I was 8. And it was devastating because my mother saved his life. I say my mother gave birth to my brother twice. Once when she gave birth to him, and the second time when she told the pediatrician off.
Yeah. You've got to be quick.
You got to be quick, yeah.
And I don't want to scare parents. I just want parents to be vigilant.
Understand.
Yeah, because the symptoms are similar to colds and flu.
Absolutely. So it begins kind of like an upper respiratory tract infection, or people think that they have the flu. So it's the fever. Parents always worry about fever, but it's the fever and it's the symptoms that accompany it. So
and
early
the rash,
on,
the purple rash.
The purple rash comes later. Yeah. So early on, it's like the flu, kind of aches and pains and fever. It's the alertness, because it's inflammation in the meninges, the lining of the brain and the spinal cord. So you'll see changes in mentation. So they'll have hallucinations. My brother dreamed he was playing hockey and he was in a bathtub full of tepid water. Right? So the hallucinations, the in and out of alertness, irritability, not wanting to eat in children. So children won't necessarily say, what's going on, I feel out of touch. They'll be sleepy and then wake up and be irritable and have these strange behaviors. And those are the behaviors moms and dads, whoever's taking care of the children, know their children best. Yes. So when you see cold and fever, but then you see these strange behaviors, that's when the red flag goes up. And then the later symptoms that we all know about, the stiffness of the neck, the photophobia, or not able to look at lights, being very sensitive, headaches, and then the very typical rash, it's called a petechial rash. And the difference is because the meningitis is not just the inflammation of the brain and the tissues around the brain and the spinal cord, but it can seep into the blood, and the septicemia, that's what causes the amputation, because the little blood clots go in and then prevent circulation to the limbs. So kids will have fever, or adolescents will have fever, and then they'll also have, there won't be that redness with the fever, there'll be that tepid kind of dull, not looking well. So you almost look dusky with a high fever. And the petechial rash is a rash that, it's a purplish rash, there's spots that appear, but you can't blanch them. So when you press on them, they don't go away. And that's the early bacteremia sign. That's a sign of it's in the bloodstream, and that's when it gets really bad. So, the best thing that you can do now, we're lucky, I don't know if we're talking about this longer, but is the vaccination. There's a strain of meningococcal disease in Canada, and it's Meningococcus B. It's the #1, the most prevalent cause of meningitis in Canada, because we have actually meningitis vaccines for every other strain, the A, C, Y, W, but the B is the newest one. It's been the most pervasive one, and it's the one that kills. And the problem, why this disease is so devastating, is that 10% of people that are affected, 10% of the children that are affected die. And even though they get the antibiotics. So early intervention, no matter what you do, people can still end up, as a physician, when you see a couple of things, they mark you for life. And meningitis is one of them, because the children can come in well in the morning, kind of not so good in the afternoon, and die by the evening. So actually this calendar, survivors, they're miracles.
Yeah, it's a great series just to draw people in and want to find out more about it and be vigilant.
A lot of questions then as a parent. Let's talk about the age ranges that are most susceptible to getting this, and then the two different ways it can affect you, because it can go through your blood, or you can get that swelling in your brain. So it generally starts with the swelling in the brain, and then it can spread to the blood system. So that's all one. Meningitis and bacteremia. I have to be certain that I talk about the vaccination, though, because that's the way that you're going to be able to prevent disease. So now, there was no vaccine before.
It's fantastic to be able to do this series. I talk about awareness of child abuse and all that sort of thing, but you never actually know how many people you save. But with this, we won't know how many people we save, but we know we definitely will, because there is a solution to this.
Exactly. Now there's a solution. Health Canada approved it last December for Canada. So now the vaccine, it's not covered in the infant immunization schedule, but the most important message to take home from this, the awareness to raise, is that there's a vaccination that now exists in Canada and the Americas for the meningococcal B. It's about $100. You can ask your pediatrician. Who's affected you can actually get it from 2 months to 17 years, because that's where the most prevalence is. But it's up to 5 years, and then there's a second wave at about 13 to 17 years of age. So in Canada, we get Menactra, which has the A, C, Y, and W at age 13, and then we also get the meningococcal C at 12 months. But now you can get the meningococcal B. It's not covered yet, but you can go to your pediatrician, your family doctor, and ask for it, and you can prevent a disease. We can eradicate it.
Fabulous. I need to take you on the road, because that's fantastic. That information is fantastic. I can just do photographs of these beautiful children, and you can talk about this, and we'll get the message across.
I'm all over it.
See, Cityline has some good guest experts, I'm not going to lie. They know their stuff. They know their stuff. So the other thing I want to say is I read something about us delivering these vaccines now in grade 7. Is that something that's going to be rolling out across the country?
Yeah, so we don't know. Health Canada approved it. We know that it's in the infant immunization immunization, the infant and adolescent immunization schedule for the other strains of meningitis.
Yeah.
Write a letter, put pressure. It's not covered yet, but OHIP is all about dollars and cents, and we have to think about cost effectiveness of it. It's 200 cases approximately in Canada, so they'd have to immunize a whole bunch of children in order to get the benefits, so the cost to the system. But you know what? I have to say, and I might get in trouble, but as a physician, one life saved is the difference. That's
Right.
what we're here
That's
for.
exactly
It's
right.
worth
So
it.
it's worth it. If we know the meningococcal B vaccine exists, you can ask for it, you can get it, you can eradicate the disease.
So I walked away from the photo shoot with you, Anne, and all I thought to myself is, okay, know your child, trust your gut instinct.
Yep.
That's what you want parents to know,
Three
because
important points.
it's fast.
Yeah. Recognise the symptoms, act quickly and decisively, and make sure your child's vaccinations are up to date, and
Yeah.
ask about meningococcal disease.
Yeah.
And you can go on to Apple iBooks, and you can download this book for free.
Yes.
There'll be the 15 images, the kids with their families, and more information about this.
Yes. So yeah, make sure you do that. It's an ebook. It is now available. You can get it as a free download, as you
Correct.
just mentioned.
That's
So
correct.
go to our website, cityline.ca, and you know what else I'm going to do? I'm going to put up just the symptoms from an article on our website or from your notes, because I think that's what parents need to
Sure,
know so they can
absolutely.
act quickly. Thank you so much for joining
You're
us.
very welcome.
And
It's good
thank
to
you for
get
that
the message out.
information. Amazing project. Let's go to break. We've got more coming up.